This program is made possible by American Senior Benefits Wichita is all about your peace of mind. We specialize in asset protecting, safeguarding your health, planning your estate, and preserving your freedom of choice. We're here to work through all of this with you. American Senior Benefits Wichita proudly supports KPTS. The Candle Club, a place where friends, food, and music come together. Currently, we offer live entertainment every night except Sundays. Enjoy our delicious prime rib, classic catfish, and of course our signature Candle Club burger. For more information, visit our website. Home Health Hospice of Kansas is a locally owned and community-based provider. We offer quality health care to our patients and families, complete with love, warmth, and compassion. We'll take care of all of the details for you. For more information, please visit kansashomehealth.com. Welcome to Cedric Plaza Retirement Community. Our living options are designed to suit your specific needs and activities that you're sure to love. We believe you'll be able to see yourself here, enjoying time with friends and family. For more information, visit cedricplaza.org.
Welcome to Empowering Seniors. I'm your host, Katherine Ambrose. We've had a long break since the end of season 1, and what I knew for sure in season 2 is that we needed to start with health. We've got to talk about the pandemic and everything going on in the world, and most certainly about how to boost immunity and improve our best chances of being healthy throughout our life. So meet Dr. James Seberger of Cognitive Performance and Health. James, welcome.
Thank you. I suspect you have a lot of questions about supplementation and things that can improve the immune function. Very valuable. I think I would probably sum up our philosophy here as measure as many things as you can. And so certain measurements will really help you improve that immune function. Mm-hmm. One of the rules of most educated prescribers is for supplementation, there is an optimum. Most of us are deficient. I did a little survey on my patients several years ago, and I found that for my clinic, we're 90% deficient. That is, there's a deficiency of 90% of the things that we need to be from the USDA, of at least a 50%, right? So 90% of our vitamins and nutrients are deficient, and that deficiency is more than 50%. So it's actually very reasonable and safe to take a good multivitamin. Mm-hmm. Certain things, and this is also something we learned, is certain things have, when they're too low, will be negative or not as functional, and then other things actually have an optimum amount. So you don't want to overdo it. And I think, really speaking towards the pandemic and coronavirus, I think some of the things that we're all thinking about are vitamin D. Mm-hmm. And vitamin D really has an optimum level. I like it to be on the higher end, 60 to 70 or even 100 nanograms per milliliter. And most of my patients, when they come in and initially, if I measure, I don't often now because everybody's been so low, are 30 or 20 or 15 or less in terms of their vitamin D. It's very reasonable if people haven't been taking it for people to take 5,000 to 10,000 units a day for a month. Mm-hmm. And that should be also with vitamin K. So D3 and K2 and A are all brought in by the same receptor. A little biochemical detail so that you can wind up getting a deficiency, a functional deficiency of something else if you don't take the other. So D3 and K2 should go together. It's a very good example. Things like zinc, we're deficient in zinc, but the same receptor that brings in zinc also brings in copper. So the usual rule is to bring in 8 parts zinc to 1 part copper. And mm-hmm. Some people can actually create a copper deficiency with neurologic problems if they don't take copper with zinc. So I really recommend that you see somebody and maybe even get some measurements on this.
So what if a patient has a doctor that just says, oh, just take a multivitamin and you'll be fine?
I think there's some reasonableness to that. I think the quality of the multivitamin really matters. When I look at a multivitamin, I look at something that distinguishes cyano from methyl B12. So cyano B12 is common. It's in a lot of vitamin formulations, and it can actually be detrimental. So I really look and say, okay, take a good methyl B12. Methyl B12 has known upper limits of toxicity, very reasonable. Something like folate is interesting. Folate's involved in 1-carbon metabolism. We give it to women to have a healthy birth and avoid birth defects. Too much is bad, too little is bad, and the form is important. About 70% of Americans don't have the sort of the biochemical machinery to handle folate, and they need a methylated form. So it's important maybe to look at the genetics and the testing to see. I did want to speak about, do vitamins help brain function? And the answer is yes. And I don't want to say that they cure a disease, okay? I do want to say that our process, the idea of dementia is, it's really a process. And I like to call it Alzheimering or dementing, right? And I think of cancer the same way. We're cancering. So there's certain things that are occurring in our environment on a chronic long-term process that are really leading to, I think it's fair to say, changes in mitochondria, changes in mitochondria DNA, and changes in nuclear DNA. Long-term changes that are occurring, that are accruing over our life, that are leading to a diminished length of life, and the evidence is there too, leading to some of the diseases that we're encountering.
And then probably a diminished quality of life.
Diminished quality, absolutely. I think it's also very interesting. I do want to spend a little bit of time. I know we're talking about seniors, but a common problem that, it's when people have brain dysfunction, many doctors do measure folate and B12 levels. And when they are low, they can prescribe supplementation to increase that. And that is 5 to 10% of what is causing dementia. So looking for causes is important. I want to spend a little bit of time on homocysteine. Homocysteine is kind of a marker of what our genetics are with our resources and what we can take and what our genes are. And so it's a nice level. And we have found that when people's homocysteine is above 15, it's toxic. That is, it's really acting to cause decreased brain function and decreased eye function, as it turns out. And then when you lower it, either through diet or supplementation, and we do have a guided supplementation for magnesium and zinc and the B vitamins, and methyl donors like betaine or trimethylglycine, we do see a very large improvement when we measure cognitive function. And so I would distinguish other people who can be helpful and which can offer improvement and gain, that really brain function and memory can be tested and improved. So what we do here is we have people sit in a room from between 9 o'clock, it takes an hour, but we like to have them have breakfast, and the test takes about an hour. And so when we do an intervention, a dietary or a medicine intervention, a supplement intervention, we can measure and see that there's improvement in memory and executive function and attention, different areas of the brain. And that's what we do actually see. We do see improvements in memory. We do see improvements in attention, executive function in a measurable fashion that are statistically valid. Other people may not measure, and I would fault them for that. I would say, don't take something without some measurement. That way you get some measure of safety and you get some measure of efficacy. I think it's actually very fair to test and say, hey, you have a zinc deficiency and your homocysteine's high, and we're going to have you take these things and lower the homocysteine. It provides a benefit for you cardiovascularly. That's in the literature. And guess what? We measured your memory before and after, and it got better. And we have that evidence here in our patients to show. Some patients don't have deficiencies, and their memory still isn't very good. And supplementation may not help them or will not help them. and they need something else. Okay, and so what we decide to do is dependent upon what the intervention is and the things that are in the environment.
So boosting your immunity
Yep.
in order to fend off viruses,
Yep.
and also just feeling better in your daily life and preventing
Yes.
worsening conditions. That's all tied together.
That's correct.
Welcome to Empowering Seniors, Bert.
Thank you.
I'm with Bert Long, and we're discussing kind of the extraordinary measures that he's going through to preserve and improve his health. So you're a patient of Dr. Seberger. You just happened to come in today.
Yes, I am.
And you're also doing some things at KU Medical Center.
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing that might be unusual compared to maybe the normal patient that just goes back and forth to their family doctor.
Some stuff I could remember, and now I remember just a little bit of my daily activities. More you exercise, better brain you have, which I've been, my wife, I'm enrolled at Y classes and stuff, and plus I'm taking supplements to help me out.
And just have patience with it and get better over time.
That is correct. Yeah,
So-
as long as you keep going and remembering, for instance, I have to retrain every day when I go to the Y. I have to retrain myself, which is kind of sad a little bit, but it is what it is.
And you're taking supplements. How
Yes.
long have you been doing that?
Oh, over a year or so.
Have you noticed a difference taking the supplements and the way you feel?
A little difference. There's a little difference. I used to be, before I came, I used to be angry. And before that, my wife said, I used to be so sweet and did everything for her. Then I changed to be from sweet to angry. Every little thing upset me or something, or
And,
now I'm sweet again.
oh, well, that's awesome. Good for your wife.
Yeah.
So, but the supplements are helping you kind of find your balance again and
Yes.
just feel like yourself again.
I'm back. I'm feeling about my sweet self again, and playful, and not as mean to everybody else like I used to be.
And so seeking out supplements and exercise is very commendable, because I think a lot of people that struggle with certain disease processes or ailments, they might go to the regular doctor every once in a while but not really change their behavior. What do you think is different about you that caused you to try some new things?
Well, what caused me to try new things is that instead of taking doctors say, "Oh, take a pill, take a pill." Oh, there's something more than a pill could help. If you could take supplements, vitamins, or something to help you out healthy-wise, I would do it.
And have you changed your diet a little bit also?
Yes, I have changed my diet.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, and I wish you great success, and good for you for exploring all of your options and taking action. Well, thank you, Bert, for being on the show. We're delighted to have you. And now let's get back to Dr. Seberger and our next topic. So arguably, dementia is probably right at the very top of what we fear as we age. And so paying attention to all of these things, it all works together with
Correct.
that as well.
Correct. Part of what we've tried to do here is give a health benefit and a measurable performance benefit very quickly, within 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes within a day. And we've worked on the processes to see that and measure that. We also can demonstrate that when you do these things, take vitamin D or take the correct medicines, that besides having a performance and cognitive benefit, there's a long-term health benefit. One of the difficulties that we have in healthcare is we really start when people are sick. And so Linus Pauling from the 20th century has recognized that we have a system, and we need that system, right? I work with sick people, and I don't want them to be sick, but what causes them to be sick, we need to begin to address and work on and function on. Sickness might be the infection, health might be the soil. So if you have good soil, you don't it's much less likely that you're going to get sick.
And COVID was kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Correct.
To maybe think about exercise, stress,
Correct.
diet, losing weight.
Correct, because it clearly impacts the people who are ill or have the least health to begin with. And we think about people with obesity and people with insulin resistance. That's clearly a part of it. I would tell you, I've spent a long time trying to understand the biochemistry of what causes that. I would tell you, people are like, well, watch diet and do these things or a supplement. I would tell you the roots of that are very deep. They are involved in our biochemistry. They're mitochondrial. That a lot of our insulin resistance is inherited from our mother and mitochondria. That's been known for the last 15 years. And then we live in an environment that clearly worsens that and makes, sort of damages our mitochondria, damages our health, makes us unhealthy. And we have to do things to reverse that.
Try to reverse that. Are you talking about being exposed to chemicals and...
I do. And, it was regarding dementia. One of the pinnacle studies that I read was a Cache County study that found that if a spouse had dementia, the other spouse had a 6-fold relative risk, which is astronomical. One of the books that I read that was pinnacle in changing how I looked at disease and cognitive function was Our Stolen Future by Theo Colburn and Pete Myers. And they wrote it together. It came out in the early 1990s, and it clearly documented different environmental impacts that are actually creating some of our disease states. So dementia is really an environmental illness. And so when people come to me, I'm asking about their environment and what they did, where they live, how they live. Frontal temporal lobe dementia, I have found of my 4 patients, they all had high mold levels. There's also other things that are impacting environmentally to cause this cognitive decline.
So the older you are, the more you've been exposed to all
Correct.
these things over
Correct.
the years, so would make you more vulnerable
Correct.
to
Correct.
so many things. So
Correct.
viruses and
Correct.
also chronic disease.
Correct. Chronic disease appears to be inherited. So some of the people who study lead in dementia, they are relating that to exposure when people were children. Does that mean that we can't change the outcome? I don't think so. I think that people are always living in a world in which they can change their health and change what their exposures are, change what they eat and drink, change how they sleep, change the medicines they take. And when you do those in a measurable fashion, that is, your memory's here, these are the exposures, you do these things, okay, now what happens to your memory?
And you're different than any doctor that I've been to before, because you generally will see your patients, it sounds like maybe every month, where you're constantly working on improving
Correct.
things. So it's quite a different experience. And it makes me think about younger generations and seeking leverage and seeking self-care. And so to equip and educate and empower seniors, I'd like to say that by exploring the idea of maybe expand what you think as far as how many doctors you see and what kind of questions you're asking. And you can feel better by just being curious and looking for people that can help you.
Whoever you go to see, ask if they can measurably improve your brain function. That to me is the question. And I think we do have the ability to do that to a long extent. It's a process, right? It's a process. It's not fair at the very end when people are exhausted at the end of a marathon to say, okay, why can't you run 100 meters quickly? Like, wait a second. We start training for the marathon early on, and our goal is to get our time here as we run a certain way. It's a different concept. It's a different concept. Don't think of it as a switch. It's on or off. It's a level.
Okay.
Clearly, also what we find is memory is a level. And it is also, you don't have memory and then you have memory, you have a degree of memory. A common example might be sleep. People don't sleep well. Is their memory good? No. If you improve their sleep, and maybe they need a CPAP for this, their sleep's improved and their memory is improved. Mm-hmm. Very reasonable to do those kinds of things.
Medicine today is complex, and if we have a good relationship with our doctor who is a good communicator and stays abreast of all the latest techniques, I think that will help us have hope for a long and healthy life because we understand better and we have the tools and resources to help us maintain good health.
I think there's a freedom in coming to a doctor who is going to really look at you and look at all parts of you, that he's going to explore, and if he doesn't understand what's going on, he is going to find out the information. And he's not going to say after 10 minutes, your time's up.
I think sometimes in the past, seniors have felt like, well, I'm old now, I should limit myself, I should sit down and write my memoirs and not be as active. And, you know, you can be active, you should be active. To keep your brain healthy, you need to move, you need to sleep, you need to eat properly. And just because we're in our 70s or 80s or 90s doesn't mean we have to stop being healthy. We can continue and live a happy, healthy life.
So, and the big question, early onset of symptoms when it comes to COVID. You have treated many COVID patients because you're also an ER doctor. So tell me how you would want your family to be treated. Like, I found you because my doctor referred me to the NIH website. I said, what if my family gets sick? And she had her office tell me, go to the NIH website, there's nothing we can do. And I hear all the time people are being sent home and told to rest and take ibuprofen. And in our modern world, with all of our modern medications, I'm really puzzled by that. Why do we allow people to get so sick they end up in ER? What can they maybe look for?
So, I mean, for me, this is what I do, right? So I looked at the NSAID, ibuprofen, coronavirus, is it bad or good? And I came up with evidence and literature that supported using indomethacin. And I share it with people and I use it. Do I think other doctors can use it? Yes. Do I think it should be prescribed? Yes. Do I think it's necessary for all cases of coronavirus? I don't. It's and people can do this. Just look online, indomethacin and coronavirus. They clearly see the reference from 2006 that it was used to treat SARS-1 in dogs, and it works in cells. And then they repeated that this year in April 2020. They clearly see that it works in dogs, which is the model for coronavirus. I use it with my patients, 25 milligrams twice a day for 5 days. And I also use a proton pump inhibitor because that medicine can be hard on the stomach. I use it carefully because it can affect kidney function and it can affect the stomach lining. Do I have good results? I have good results with this. Could other people use this? They can. Ask their physicians to look at it and see if that would help them. I tell other doctors about it and some use it. I just tell you that. I will say, are there long-term studies in patients who have had that for treatment? I haven't found them. Do I think there should be? I think there should. Do I think there will be? Perhaps. When it comes to me taking care of my patients, I use what I find works, what the literature supports, and I use it in a safe fashion.
So, Doctor, you've given some great words of advice and some clues when it comes to COVID and boosting immunity. We talked about dementia. What are some of your final thoughts about starting where you are now to move forward to better health?
So many people may want a memory test, and I'm not going to give that. I mean, we sit with the computer, we measure memory, and we're down to the 1%, so we can see very clearly. Believe it or not, in terms of health, and in terms of reductions in disease, and in terms of slowing the process of both cancer formation and Alzheimer's and dementia formation, your scale is your friend. Because if you maintain a healthy weight, and that is a BMI of around 23 to 25, if you maintain a healthy weight and you keep your insulin low, that means you have good metabolism and good mitochondria function. So all those health activities that help with that, diet, exercise, fasting, sleep, stress reduction, nutrient supplementation if you're low, all of those that get you to the ideal weight will help your brain function.
And help with your immunity
And help with
everything.
your immunity and actually get you a longer life.
And you talk a lot about energy.
Energy is sort of the way that I think about health and the way I think about brain function. When I first started, I had a patient come to me at the very end of the course of her illness. She had run a marathon. She was at the end. And we looked at the electrical activity in the brain, and it was shocking. There was none. It was flat. I realized she just didn't have power. And so what happens as we age is we go from a point of having good brain power to less and less to no brain power. That's how I look at these things. That means that I have to study metabolism. I have a PhD in biochemistry. I enjoy it. And I have to study the source of power production, the mitochondria. And there's a tremendous amount in the literature of what mitochondria is made, how it works. And there's clear relationships between mitochondria function, obesity, insulin resistance, dementia, high blood pressure. So that's the processes that I look at. I look at the processes of power production.
Well, very interesting. Well,
Very interesting.
thank you so much for your wisdom today. And thank you for joining us on Empowering Seniors. We'll see you next time.
This program is made possible by American Senior Benefits Wichita is all about your peace of mind. We specialize in asset protecting, safeguarding your health, planning your estate, and preserving your freedom of choice. We're here to work through all of this with you. American Senior Benefits Wichita proudly supports KPTS. The Candle Club, a place where friends, food, and music come together. Currently, we offer live entertainment every night except Sundays. Enjoy our delicious prime rib, classic catfish, and of course our signature Candle Club burger. For more information, visit our website. Home Health Hospice of Kansas is a locally owned and community-based provider. We offer quality health care to our patients and families, complete with love, warmth, and compassion. We'll take care of all of the details for you. For more information, please visit kansashomehealth.com. Welcome to Cedric Plaza Retirement Community. Our living options are designed to suit your specific needs and activities that you're sure to love. We believe you'll be able to see yourself here, enjoying time with friends and family. For more information, visit cedricplaza.org.